Now please move to part 3. This could be the discovery of the century. It could make our fortunes. We could be millionaires. The clue to a fabulous treasure is in that coffin. He turned his back to the professor. Come on, Julie, get a move on. The professor was still translating the hieroglyphs on the coffin's side. He who opened this coffin will be cursed by Anubis. There now, just our luck. We're going to be cursed by Anubis. Who's Anubis? Demanded Remston. He was the ancient Egyptian god of the dead. Had a head like a jackal. Now, I want you to go back to part 2 and answer the comprehension questions that you have after each paragraph. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Good morning, my dear students. Today, inshallah, we are going to continue with Unit 7, and we will start doing Lesson 5 in the Learner's Book. So I want you now to open your Learner's Book page 104, 105. Today's lesson is There is a Pharaoh in Our Bath. It is a short story written by Jeremy Strong. Now before we start doing the reading, let me remind you of the elements of a short story. In any short story, we should have the setting, which includes the time and the place. We should also have characters. We should have the plot, which is the problem that should be solved at the end of the story. And then we should have the solution, which is the solution of the plot. So let me start. Now we will start page 105. Now before we start reading, today you have to do the following. First, we should listen to an extract from the story, and then we should read and answer questions about the short story, and then we should speak about the characters of the story. I think each one of you have a CD in his book, in his learner's book. So if you have any audio device, you can use. Each one of you have a CD in his book, in his learner's book. So if you have any audio device, you can use it to listen to the story. In case you don't have, I will read it for you right now. So let me start. I'm sorry if the quality of the picture here in my PowerPoint is not that much clear, but I want you to follow me from your books. So I will start. There is a Pharaoh in our bath. The lid of the cobwebbed coffin was slowly pushed back, and the two men laid it carefully on the museum floor. They stared inside at the beautifully painted ancient Egyptian mummy case covered with picture writing. The light was already beginning to fade from the musty storeroom. The other museum staff had gone home, and the only company left with the two men now were the stacks of old mummy cases, ancient skeletons, and a large stuffed rhinoceros. Professor Gilly pulled the lamp closer and inspected the hieroglyphs. The light shimmered across his moon-like face. What does it say? Demanded Remston. The head of the museum's ancient Egyptian collection stared over Jelly's shoulder. Here is the mummy of the missing Pharaoh. Now, grade 5, move to part 2. Professor Jelly took a sweet from his jack pocket, popped it in his mouth, and bent over the mummy case. Hazelnut crunch. Now, this squiggly bit here says, may perfumed flowers be crushed beneath his feet. Very poetic. But who's inside? Remston barked impatiently, and his great wing eyebrows crashed together over his hooded eyes and hawk nose. He stabbed a thin finger at one side of the coffin. What about here? What does it say? It looks important. Professor Jelly sucked noisily on his sweet. That bit there. Yes. that says, please keep this way up at all times. What? Yielded Grimston. And that bit continued, the professor waving at some faded hieroglyphs. With a budgie hand, that bit there says, not to be opened before Christmas. For a few seconds, Grimston was stunned, then his eyes glinted dangerously. You are making this up, Jelly, aren't you? The professor straightened his stubby frame. Of course I'm making it up. Stop pestering me and let me study it properly. This mummy has been stuck here for 70 years already, ever since it was first brought to the museum from ancient Egypt for... So, grade 5, before you do the comprehension questions from 1 to 7, I want you to answer my questions. Now, who is Professor Jelly and who is Grimston? Here you have two people, one with orange jacket and the other one is with a green jacket. So I want you to think about them. And what is the job of Grimston? What is his job? I'll give you 2 minutes for this. Yalla, quickly. So Grimston is principal, the manager, or let's say the head of the ancient Egyptian museum. Okay, and which one do you guess is Grimston? Can you guess? And which one is Jelly? Okay, move to part 2, paragraph 2. But who's inside? Grimston barked impatiently. So, and he's great. So, Grimston has winged eyebrows and hooded eyes and a hook nose. Okay, these are his characteristics or his appearance features. And what about Professor Jelly? Professor Jelly is what? Is the man with the orange jacket. Look at his face. His face is rounded like the moon, and he has a tubby frame, and his face is rounded like the moon, and he has a tubby frame, and his hands are very budgy, unlike Grimston. Budgy means fat. Okay, now I want you, after you finish the reading and after you finish the questions, I want you to find the meanings of these words. Of course, you have to underline them in the story and find out their meanings in their dictionary. Winged eyebrows, hooded eyes, hook nose, coffin, and tubby frame. Okay, grade 5, wish you all the best. Cannot wait to see you again, inshallah. Stay safe and see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.